When we're thinking about greenhouse and climate controls, we don't want to just think about heating. We don't want to just think about cooling. We want to think about how heating and cooling interact along with a lot of other things associated with efficient greenhouse production. I include a link down here that gives a great kind of heating alternatives and some good information for those that are seeking a little bit more regarding greenhouses. Now, greenhouse climate control, ventilation is important. For effective any greenhouse or high tunnel, keeping air moving through that structure. Keep in mind, if you are adding fans, because you are looking at a greenhouse here, fans are much more efficient at pulling air, not pushing air. So exhaust fans will typically, if you walk by one, you get blown by those fans because they're pulling air through the greenhouse and out. They're not really that great at pushing air. This is why exhaust fans blow air out, and this is why you see these are inlets here, screen netting over them to prevent insects from getting pulled into the structure here. Calculating the CFM, or cubic feet per minute, needed for both exhaust fans and shutter size can be calculated via these online calculators. So provided, I found a couple of really good ones, I think, that allow you to plug in different sizes of structures and to be able to get kind of an idea of what size fan or what size vent you should be adding to your particular structure. Now, heating systems, there's many different types of heating systems. Original and general combustion fuels have the potential to generate unwanted gases such as ethylene, which can affect ripening, and carbon monoxide, CO. Propane generates high amounts of moisture. Wood can be easily accessible but generates waste in the ash and often requires manual feeding. Oil, easy to get in large quantities, but the furnace does require maintenance. Electric can be reliable and easy to control, and doesn't generate wasted or unwanted byproducts, but can be very expensive. For cooling systems, a simple thermostat and exhaust fan can suffice. Key is to have enough intake air, and that's where the open roof design can help alleviate some of the heat issues. Air conditioning systems can be installed to ensure an accurate temperature is reached, but these can also be very expensive to run and also maintain. Heat pumps can be used, or swamp coolers for best suited for small applications and with not a lot of heat to remove. And these swamp coolers work best in areas with low humidity, so for example Arizona in the southwest. Misting systems can be employed. These are very simple design. They can offer some degree of cooling. The droplet size should be considered. A mist system, you want really, really fine particles. The finer, it'll act more like a fogging system. If the droplets get too large, this can wet the floor or surface, which may not be wanted. It can also leave a lot of heavy moisture that can increase rot or mold that could occur. Those large droplets give that algae a chance to grow, which is just unwanted, even though we do want the cooling advantage of it. Irrigation systems, there's many different types, even some are hydroponic. We're looking at irrigation systems in general. Hand watering is the most basic, but is very time consuming. Flood and drain, as you see implemented in this grow tent, is suited for bench style operations. Large style, there's also drip irrigation, where it's evenly dispersing water over a long distance. Supplemental lighting may not be thought of as needed, but for a year-round production, especially during winter months, this can be advantageous. LED lights are showing promise in this area. They're very efficiently mounted. They're not consuming a lot of power. They're passively cooled. High-pressure sodiums have also been implemented in the past. A little bit not quite as efficient as a true full-spectrum LED, but another option to consider for greenhouse production. CO2 enrichment, assuming that all of the growing environment aspects are maximized, only then does CO2 then becoming the limiting factor. So if you don't have enough light or enough heat or enough nutrients, those can all negatively impact plants. If all those are maxed out, you're looking for that kind of next step up, well then you can consider CO2 enrichment. This is justified in operations looking for maximum yield. If heat is required, use a CO2 generator, as this can serve a dual purpose. Here we have the burners going on, generating CO2 from the form of propane and heating the room at the same time. If heat is already kind of an issue, you can use regular bottled tanks or liquid systems, and these basically generate no unwanted byproducts and efficiently elevate CO2 levels in the grow space. If there's too much sun in the area, shade cloth can be implemented to reduce the sun's intensity. There's different percentages of shade cloth. It comes in a variety of colors, black being the most common. However, when we're looking at heat reduction, black can absorb a lot of heat, even though it is kind of reducing the amount of sun exposure that the plants under it get. But there's other reflective netting like aluminate, which is literally looks like little bits of aluminum, very shiny, can also help produce the shade effect with not quite as getting as hot because it's reflecting some more of the heat and light. Here it's just blocking some of the light and getting warmer, especially on long summer days. Light deprivation, so monitoring and maintaining proper photoperiods for cannabis, can be very important, and it needs to be regulated. As a result, we see the same materials here that on one side they're very dark and black to block out screens to allow growers to precisely regulate photoperiods of their crop. And the other side it can be white to kind of this white with black stripes to this kind of almost mylar look to it. Both of these designs, or all three of these designs, on the outside help reflect light, but on the inside can be dark on themselves to help prevent light from getting into the crop, allowing growers to maximize their crop to either be in the vegetative or the flowering state, regardless of the outside conditions. Data logging is also important. It's going to be an easy way to track conditions in the growing environment. They can be used to spot errors and make corrections to help maximize production. There's very small portable units. There's also very large, almost weather station related units that can track a variety of factors and data log them on a very continual basis over the entire growing season. So this climate control, these are a couple things that focus on: ventilation, heating, cooling, misting systems, irrigation, supplemental lighting, CO2 generators or enrichment, shade netting, light block, and data logging are all important to help maintain, like you would almost in a car, consistent conditions to maximize plant production.